John Hughes didn't just write or direct movies, he created a universe. One where teenage heartbreak felt like the end of the world, adult stress turned into hilarious chaos, and growing up was captured with rare honesty and humor. His stories defined a generation, and even today, they feel fresh, funny, and deeply relatable. Among his many works, 5 movies stand out as the most iconic, the most influential, and the most beloved. They represent the best of Hughes' gift for mixing comedy with emotion, and they show why his legacy continues to shape the way we tell stories about youth, family, and the chaos in between. It all started with 16 Candles in 1984, the first film Hughes directed and the one that established the tone and the style that would become his signature. At the center is Samantha Baker, played by Molly Ringwald, whose 16th birthday is forgotten by her entire family amidst the chaos of her sister's wedding. What follows is a blend of humiliation, longing, awkwardness, and unexpected connection that anyone who's ever been a teenager can instantly relate to. From the creepy crushes to the impossible dream guy to the weird kid on the bus, Hughes nailed every detail of adolescent misery and hope. What made 16 Candles so powerful wasn't just the jokes or the high school cliques. It was the emotional truth behind it. Samantha doesn't save the world or find fame. She just wants to be seen. And in the end, when she gets her moment, sitting across from Jake Ryan with a birthday cake between them, it feels like the world tilts back into its place. The movie launched Hughes' career and made Molly Ringwald the star, and set a new standard for teen movies that weren't condescending, but honest and sincere. 2 years later, Hughes gave the world Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a movie that's about skipping school, but also about joy, freedom, and the refusal to let life pass you by. Ferris, played with the perfect charm by Matthew Broderick, isn't just the cool kid, he's the philosopher of fun, the teenage Zen master who knows that sometimes the best way to appreciate life is to step away from it for a while. Alongside his anxious best friend Cameron and his smart, skeptical girlfriend Sloane, Ferris turns a simple day in Chicago into an adventure full of fast cars, art museums, parades, and elaborate lies. Hughes makes it clear that Ferris isn't the only one who needs a break. Cameron, weighed down by anxiety and parental pressure, undergoes the real transformation, finally standing up for himself and destroying the car that's come to symbolize his father's control. Ferris Bueller's Day Off isn't just about teenage rebellion, it's about valuing time, embracing joy, and knowing that high school doesn't last forever. The movie is endlessly quotable, from "Life moves pretty fast" to "Save Ferris." It became one of Hughes' most enduring creations. It proved that teen movies didn't have to be about heartbreak or popularity. They could be about hope, confidence, and the thrill of being young. Just 1 year earlier, though, Hughes made what many consider his masterpiece, The Breakfast Club. Released in 1985, brought together 5 teenagers from 5 different social groups and trapped them into Saturday detention. There's the brain, the athlete, the basket case, the princess, and the criminal. And by the end of the day, none of them will be the same. The brilliance of The Breakfast Club lies in its simplicity. The entire film takes place almost entirely in a school library, with no big set pieces or plot twists. It's just 5 kids talking, crying, fighting, and slowly realizing that they're more alike than different. Hughes took the stereotypes of high school movies and shattered them, showing that behind every label is a person with fears, hopes, and stories that rarely get told. The performances were raw and honest, especially from Judd Nelson as Bender and Ali Sheedy as Allison, and the movie's emotional beats hit hard because they feel real. When Claire gives Allison a makeover, when Andrew confesses his shame, when Brian reads the letter aloud at the end, it's all so human, so vulnerable. The Breakfast Club showed that teenagers are complex, thoughtful, and capable of deep introspection, and it demanded that adults take them seriously. Its message, that we're all more than the people we see, continues to resonate, and its final shot, Bender's fist in the air as "Don't You Forget About Me" plays, remains one of the most iconic moments in film history. But John Hughes wasn't just a master of teen movies. In 1987, he released Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a comedy about adults that somehow feels just as emotionally rich as high school stories. A comedy about adults that somehow feels just as emotionally rich as his high school stories. Steve Martin plays Neil Page, a tightly wound advertising executive trying to get home for Thanksgiving. John Candy plays Del Griffith, a bumbling but lovable shower curtain ring salesman who becomes Neil's accidental travel companion. What starts as a road trip from hell quickly turns into something much deeper. Hughes uses every mishap, missed flights, broken down cars, burned hotels, as a way to strip back Neil's carefully controlled exterior and reveal his vulnerability. Dell, meanwhile, hides his pain behind constant chatter and optimism. As the two men stumble across the Midwest, they bicker, bond, and slowly begin to understand each other. The final scenes reveal that Dell is homeless, carrying the grief of his lost wife and the loneliness of life on the road. Neil, finally seeing Dell not as a burden but as a friend, invites him home for the holiday. It's a moment of quiet kindness, and it hits harder than most dramas. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is hilarious, of course. Martin and Candy are both comedy legends, but it's also deeply touching, reminding us that everyone we meet is carrying something we can't see. It's about patience, empathy, and the unexpected connections that make life meaningful. And then, in 1990, though Hughes didn't direct it, he wrote and produced one of the biggest holiday hits of all time, Home Alone. It tells the story of Kevin McAllister, an 8-year-old boy who's accidentally left behind when his large family flies to Paris for Christmas. Played by Macaulay Culkin, Kevin is suddenly the master of his own world, setting booby traps and outsmarting two bumbling burglars with hilarious results. On the surface, Home Alone is a slapstick comedy full of cartoon violence and kid-friendly antics. But underneath, it's another classic Hughes story about family, independence, and realizing what matters most. Kevin's initial joy at having the house to himself slowly fades as he begins to miss his parents, and his transformation from bratty little brother to brave, resourceful hero feels completely earned. Hughes had a knack for understanding how kids think, talk, and feel, and Home Alone captured that perfectly. The film's heartwarming moments, Kevin's reunion with his mom, and the silent bond he forms with his lonely neighbor are as powerful as its funniest gags. Home Alone became a holiday tradition, spawning sequels, references, and even real-life copycat traps. It showed that Hughes' storytelling magic could reach beyond teenagers and into the lives of younger kids, without losing any of its warmth or wit. Across these 5 films, Hughes proved that no one understood the emotions of growing up, the chaos of family, and the awkward beauty of human connection quite like he did. 16 Candles shows us that being ignored doesn't mean you're invisible. Ferris Bueller taught us that sometimes you have to stop and appreciate the moment. The Breakfast Club reminded us that everyone has a story worth hearing. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles showed that friendship can come from the unlikeliest places. And Home Alone gave us a hilarious, heartfelt reminder that even the smallest among us can be brave when it matters most. Hughes didn't just write characters, he wrote people. People with flaws, fears, desires, and dreams. He made them funny without mocking them, emotional without making them melodramatic. His movies were love letters to the misfits, the outcasts, the worriers, the dreamers, and the kids who felt too much. His influence can still be seen everywhere, in coming-of-age movies, teen dramas, family comedies, and even in the way people talk about high school and holidays. John Hughes captured what it felt like to be human in a world that doesn't always make sense, and he did it with heart, humor, and honesty. These 5 films stand as proof that when you care deeply about your characters, your audience will too, and that's why his work still resonates decades later. Like, comment, and subscribe for daily history and culture content.